everyone, I'm Brittany Jones-Cooper. Most days you'll find me here interviewing celebrities and other influencers from the Build Studio here in New York City, where we bring fans closer to everything that's happening in pop culture. But today we're gonna do something a little bit different. Some of you may be surprised to learn that our Build series is actually a part of Verizon. So as a member of the V team, we're really big on using our technology, talent, and resources to make the world a better place. And we wanna give everyone a peek of what that looks like. So think of this as Verizon opening its doors to show the outside what it's like inside. You may be asking yourselves, why are we doing this? Well, it's actually pretty simple. In a world fueled by tweets, likes, and emojis, where you can be unfollowed, canceled, or trolled simply for having a different point of view, how do we use the power of technology to inspire, inform, and build a brighter future? Well, that's what today is about. So we hope you'll join us on this journey and possibly learn something along the way. And with that, I'm pleased to welcome our first guest who's joining us live from Denver, Colorado. Please welcome Ronan Dunn, who leads Verizon's Consumer Group.
Good morning, everybody. And Brittany, thank you for the introduction. And from one 5G city here in Denver, congratulations on the announcement that we're lighting up New York as well. Great to have you in the 5G family. And one of the things I love about our business is the immersion in technology and how we can use technology for good. And one of the things that we've been doing in the business, and some of you may have heard last year, was we were starting to use VR technology and VR goggles to enhance the training that we were able to give to people. We started with some safety things that we put on VR, but also we've been doing work with our associates and people on the fire side as well. So one of the things that we wanted to do was enhance that further, and we've brought in a new series of training for retail. Just helps to bring to life the empathy of our engagement with our customers. So what we'd love to do is share that training with you and then talk about it afterwards. So let's roll this video so you can see our empathy training.
It's important that we meet our customers where they're at in their lives.
Hi, you must be Robert. I'm Hannah. I heard you having some trouble with your phone today.
Yeah, hi. I need to find someone who knows how this thing works to fix it before I throw it off a bridge.
Oh, of course. We don't want to see you do that. How can I offer assistance?
This thing does not work. We bought this phone and the insurance specifically so that we can see Danielle when she calls, but she called at 3 this morning and we couldn't see anything. Wasted the entire call trying to figure out how to make it work. And who knows when she'll call again. Her mom was a mess.
Every customer has a story to share. Rewind. Stop. Now, change perspective.
Hi, you must be Robert.
Every customer is more than a transaction.
Hi, you must be Joe. I'm Hannah. I heard you need to make changes to your account.
Yes. I already have a phone number. I'd like to... Sorry. I'm having quite a night. I already have a phone number. I would like to keep it, but I need to get it off the account that it's currently on. I already talked to customer service. I would like my own account.
Stop. Change perspective.
Hi, you must be Joe.
And every Verizon customer has a story behind the story.
Hi, you must be Noah. I'm Hannah. How can I be of assistance?
Yeah, hey, Hannah. I wanted to look at my phone bill. It seems a bit high. I've seen a lot of deals on TV. Seems like there might be a better price. Could I Could you just check?
Stop. Change perspective.
Hi, you must be Noah.
Every person has a story. We have the opportunity to truly hear them and make a difference.
Who knows when she'll call again? Her mom was a mess.
You're exactly right, Robert. You said your daughter called at 3 in the morning. Is she overseas?
Yes, she's serving overseas.
Well, we appreciate her service to our country. I can only imagine how stressful a call like that would be. I know I'd be frustrated if I couldn't see her. Let's take a look at your video calling.
I want my own account.
I'll take care of this. Let me get you set up with the next thing you need to do. I want to make this as easy as possible for you, Joe.
Could you just check?
When I get my bills, I definitely want to make sure that I'm getting the best value possible. Let's take a look, and I can make sure that you're on the best option for you.
When we meet our customers where they're at in their lives, that's when we truly make a difference.
So welcome back. I know when I first watched that video as a dad whose daughter lives 3,500 miles away, I really understood that situation, and I had huge empathy for the experience that that customer had. And the great thing about this is it brings the experience to life. It humanizes those interactions, and that's why the VR opportunity really allows us to engage in our training in a way that actually brings us to understand the customer exactly in the circumstances they find them. So we're here in the retail store in Denver, and I'm here with Zach, with Andy, and TJ, who've been through the training. And what I'd love to do is just get a little bit of a perspective. So let me start, TJ. What was your experience when you went through the training?
It was really impactful for me, because we all have been in those situations before, but in a constant moving sales world, we're not always taking that step back to interact with them and know where they're coming from. So it was really kind of eye-opening to just become vulnerable and open ourselves up to them as they're opening up to us and really gain that trust with our customers.
Absolutely. And Zach, for you, was there anything different in this training to anything you've done before?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with VR, the biggest piece here is the full immersion and putting us in those situations and really being able to see our customers and feel what they're feeling and what they're thinking and being able to make that connection with them. And going forward, I see that really making us more human and understanding our customers as individuals.
And Andy, for you, was there a particular takeaway?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like TJ and Zach said, I think the whole change perspective for me was a big takeaway. Just because a lot of the times we're programmed just to sell, be robots. But the whole change perspective, we put ourselves in the customer's shoes. It just makes us think differently and be there for them, just take care of their needs.
And in Verizon, we've been going through our own change in 2.0. And one of the things I talk about in 2.0 is this idea of creating context and understanding the context for every situation, for what our business objectives are, what are the outcomes we're trying to achieve. And the thing I love about this example is it helps us to create context in every conversation we have. And whether those conversations are internal for colleagues who are in the same team as us, or whether it's in the conversations that we have with our customers. So I think it really brought to life for me a very 2.0 experience that says, I want to put myself in the shoes of the customer. And you'll have heard me talk about this idea of show up how and where our customers would expect, but also in the context that our customers would expect. So I think this is not just a great use of technology, but I think it really embraces the spirit of 2.0 and helps us to be much closer to our customers in a way that I think will help to drive great customer outcomes. So as you think about that, are there other areas where you think we could enhance the training or other opportunities where you could see VR working for us? Any ideas?
I think just in terms of, the experiences of football stadiums and things like that, allowing our customers and fans just as a whole to really be immersed into the game and get the experience that they're yearning for, even from their seats at home. So allowing them to have that connectivity and get the experience from home.
So I think that's a great example of stuff that we'll use, the tools we'll use internally are actually great examples of tools that can enhance the customer's experience and giving them context and depth of experience. And in a retail store environment, do we see any other opportunities for the AR or different things that we can do in training?
I would say for training, the different things that we can do is really, like I said, that immersion and making it real for us and really understanding what the situations we might face. And it is more impactful. It helps us learn in a much more effective way as opposed to maybe just listening to a presentation, because it does give us those visuals, those sights, those sounds, and it hits all of our senses and allows us to really be in those situations.
And I think for me, this idea of starting and finishing every conversation with the customer, of course, when you're in a retail environment, you understand that because the customer is there. But if we can bring that same sense of context and that empathy to the conversations that we're having when we're building new plans, when we're designing a promotion and other things, I think that will help us. So this idea of putting ourselves in the shoes of the customer, and the same thing is putting ourselves in the shoes of the quarterback when we're watching football or other things like that. I think it's a really exciting. And I think for me, it really brings technology to life, but brings the spirit of 2.0 to life. Is we want to be as famous for the experience we deliver as the networks we deliver it on, and putting in the hands of our retail employees and others the ability to put themselves in the shoes of the customer, I think is a great way to really bring not just technology to life, but bring Verizon 2.0 to life. So really excited. Thank you to the team here in the retail store in Denver, and time for us to hand back to the Bill Studios in New York. So thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Ronan. All of that is so true. Everyone has a story, and I really love seeing how VR can help change how we see each other. Very, very powerful stuff. Up next, we're going to take a look at another example of how new, more immersive media can really change how we see each other. Riot, like Build, is also a part of Verizon and focuses on telling stories by using 360 VR and AR. I love these films, and we'd like to show you a mobile experience they created for the Stonewall anniversary. For those of you who don't know, Stonewall was the pivotal protest that really began the LGBTQ+ movement. Take a look.
I was a deputy inspector in charge of approximately 5 precincts that had to do with public morals. There was a law forbidding masquerade, and they considered wearing a dress for a male masquerade. There were no instructions except put them out of business. It was clear up the situation, and the situation was quite bad when it came to the Stonewall. The first police officer that came in said, "The place is under arrest. When you exit, have some identification, and it'll be over in a short time." This time they said, "We're not going." That's it. We're not going. And they didn't go. As they were exiting the place, instead of going to the police cars, and they went on their own, they were calling their friends from everywhere. We had maybe 6 people, and by this time there were several thousand outside. You didn't have the manpower, and the manpower for the other side was coming like there was a real war. And then that's what it was a war. Well, I had to act that I wasn't nervous. Everyone was on edge. And that was the worst part of it, because you knew they were on edge, and you knew that the first shot that was fired meant all the shots would be fired.
It was a scary time. People who got caught in raids in gay bars could lose their jobs, could lose their apartments. Their names would be printed in a list in a newspaper. I had just turned 18. I was celebrating my birthday at the Stonewall. I didn't think I could have been any prettier than that night. I told the person at the door, I said, "I'm 18 tonight." And he said to me, "Little SOB, you could have got us in a lot of trouble. You could have got us closed up." Well, little did he know what was going to happen later on was to make history.
We will be talking more today about how technology can be used as a powerful force for good, but when it comes to parenting, technology can be equal parts educational and frightening at the same time. Up next, Angie Choi joins Stephen Balcom, founder and CEO of the Family Online Safety Institute, to chat with a couple of parents about parenting in the digital age. But first, let's hear from some of our Verizon parents.
My 9-year-old has a smartphone.
I have 2 children with phones.
He absolutely has a phone.
No phones. I am passing no judgment on my colleagues.
Their life is dedicated, if you would allow it, to be centered on an iPad or a smartphone.
One of my sons will put a show on while the video game is loading, while he's also texting.
If you look in the rear view of your car at your son or daughter in the back seat, they are on that device, their head is down, their neck's bent, and we're like, what is going to happen to him when he gets a little bit older?
What is acceptable, what's not acceptable, how you treat other people. You just gotta hope that some of that is sticking.
Last year for Christmas, Mason decided instead of writing a letter to Santa, he went and he asked Alexa to send him all these items. He had ordered himself about $600 worth of toys without mommy and daddy knowing.
Taking the device away is the ultimate punishment.
I've actually taken it away for almost an entire week.
Everybody's gonna have it, and I'm not gonna have it.
I need it to check my grades.
You're such a bad dad. You're depriving me of learning.
One of the things that my daughter used to do, we turn our Wi-Fi router on and off at the beginning of the day, the end of the day. She'd find another Wi-Fi in the neighborhood. Every control that we tried to put on the network, she would somehow find a way around it.
Big thanks to our Verizon parents. A big hello to all of you. I'm Andy Choi with Verizon's Up to Speed Communications team. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the Family Online Safety Institute founder and CEO, Stephen Balcom. Just a few weeks ago, Stephen and I wrapped up our Verizon-sponsored national tour, meeting face-to-face with moms and dads across the country, discussing the challenges of raising children in the digital age. Also joining us, a few parents ready to share their own family's digital journeys. Melissa Kramer, Carol Farden are here. Let's welcome all of them. Stephen, let's start with you. For those who may not know, what is the Family Online Safety Institute?
So we're an international nonprofit. The mission is to make the online world safer for kids and their families.
And I mean, this conversation, the video we saw, you know, the moms and dads that we talk to all over the country, this conversation is happening at dinner tables all across America.
Pretty much every day, too, as we just heard from the video.
Yeah. Let's learn a little more about our moms. Carol, we'll start with you. Tell us about your family, your kids.
Hi, how are you? So I live in Maplewood, New Jersey. I've got 4 children, 3 in high school. My daughter is a senior. My son is a junior. My 3rd daughter is a freshman, and I have a 5th grade son. So
Fun times at home.
I do have a good sampling here for you.
Yeah. Melissa, how about you?
Hi, I have a 5-year-old in kindergarten and an 11-year-old who just started middle school.
So that's an interesting situation, Melissa. So you've got 2 boys.
Yep.
And I'm guessing little brother's looking at big brother going, he's got some toys that I might want.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, talk to us about that.
Well, my oldest, we just got him a phone this summer when he turned 11. And now the question is, from our 5-year-old, well, when do I get my phone? And so it's a constant, do I have to be 10? Do I have to, it's constantly coming up.
Stephen, any thoughts on that or how to remedy that?
Well, it's interesting because when you and I have gone around the country, we've talked to parents of lots of kids of different ages. One thing we have stressed is that the elementary school age kids do not need a smartphone. But we do love the Gizmo Watch, which is like a smartwatch that allows you to call and text up to 10 numbers and that's it. And it's a GPS tracker. So it gives parents a sort of peace of mind without handing them the World Wide Web.
Right. So it's sort of that first smartphone. It's a wearable. And Carol, I understand the watch was a gift, wasn't it?
So Christmas, what's the big gift, for the youngest? While the older ones got an upgraded laptop, perhaps because they do need them for school, we were not ready at all to present the youngest with a phone. So we were made aware of the gizmo from friends, and it really has, it helped fill that little gadget piece, but he walks to and from school, and it's a perfect thing for us to just know his whereabouts.
Yeah, and part of that, Stephen, is about talking to your children? I mean, I know we talk a lot about the 7 steps, and I'm sure we'll kind of go through that.
Sure.
But number 1 rule is talk to your kids.
Yeah, so we developed the 7 steps to good digital parenting. Number 1, not surprisingly, is talk with your kids early and often. It's not like the birds and the bees and it's one and done. You know, it's one that you have pretty much every year. We like to think back to school is a good opportunity when they're all making this various different adjustments. New technology may be in your kids' hands for the first time. Set ground rules, create a contract. We even have a family safety contract that you can download. And for us, it's a conversation starter that includes a back and forth with your kids, and may, by the way, need to include your significant other in it as well, because sometimes, let's just face it, we're not great role models ourselves.
Right. We were just talking about that backstage. Melissa, Carol, I know, the thing is, and Stephen always likes to say this is a no judgment zone. Right. So we're not judging anybody. We're all kind of getting through this together. But how often are you talking to your kids, and are they looking at you going, well, Mom, I see you with your phone, And of course the response is, well, I'm doing important things, kids.
Well, I definitely can speak to that. I feel like that's really the struggle, because you're trying to implement certain restrictions with your kids, but then we look at ourselves and we're all, I'm totally tuned into the phone, probably way too much, So, and my 11-year-old constantly reminding me, well, I see you on your phone all the time. Yeah. And then I have to kind of check it and take a step back.
Carol, similar conversations with your kids?
Yeah, I mean, professionally, without our phone, it's a daily communication more often than not. So, yes, well, what we try to do is perhaps what can we look at together? Maybe there's a fun video that we're seeing. So if I can consciously engage them to do what I'm doing together, we certainly have a family group chat. I mean, there are certain things that we do have as a common thread. I feel like that helps. But to Melissa's point, yeah, it's our day-to-day. So we do have to remind ourselves to set that example for the kids.
And Stephen, you talk a lot about doing things together, talking together, and actually setting up times together where perhaps you're not as connected, correct? Yeah, so we talk about tech-free zones and tech-free time zones in the home. So a tech-free zone for us is the dining room table, but also the bedroom. We really advocate putting your gadgets away in a closet, charging them overnight, mom and dad too. Because if in the morning they come, they see you on your phone, and you haven't even brushed your teeth yet, right. They want that too. Right. I mean, you actually have a space where the devices go away. Yeah, that's been our rule for many years. And then every now and then we discover that, maybe it has gone to bed with a member of the family. So then we have another conversation about it. I want to talk about apps and just different programs. I know, Stephen, the rate in which these apps are developing. I know that we've talked to moms and dads across the country who say, it's overwhelming. They're fearful about it. Yeah. And the message here is, don't be afraid. I mean, we just can't manage all of them. No, I mean, first of all, there are 5,000 new apps uploaded to the App Store every day worldwide. Wow. So there is no way that you can keep up with all of that. That's why the conversation is so important. That's why setting rules is so important. But there are some apps like TikTok, like Fortnite, some of these that are very, very popular that you are going to have to learn about. And it may require you actually sitting down with your 11-year-old or whatever and say, look, just explain this thing to me. Mm-hmm. Melissa, do you feel like you're kind of studying up or trying to catch up?
Absolutely. I mean, Fortnite specifically, my 11-year-old, as many others, I feel there's an addiction to it. And I did do that recently where I just said, okay, let me just sit down with him and try to understand it. Like, what is this? What's the draw? And that's been helpful. But I think it's just so important to have restriction in terms of not letting them do it, but just the time frame. Right. Really cutting it off, because it's very difficult. They're not going to self-regulate.
Exactly. Carol, similar situation?
Yeah, I think Fortnite came out in the summer, and the joke in our house was, why are you so fair? Are you not getting outside much? Because we found out that he was spending a lot of time on Fortnite.
Get that tan, kid.
Get that tan, kid. But what we did like, I guess, was the kids would go home to their house, and they were interacting, and they were speaking to each other, and they were, like, strategizing and all that kind of thing. The other things that are very hard to keep up with are Snapchat, and I think it's funny that they laugh at the parents when Facebook is so antiquated to them. Meanwhile, that's our
That's for
medium.
moms and grandmas.
Exactly. But TikTok, you mentioned TikTok. For my youngest, that has been this fun platform for him. He just makes these little videos with his friends and sometimes with the siblings. So if it's something that my older ones can actually engage with my younger one, there's that. But
or you as a parent, that's the other thing we're starting to see, parents making
Yeah.
silly videos with their kids outdoors. In other words, make it a
Sure.
kind of a family affair.
So if you can take these apps and actually put it into your day-to-day in a more productive way, I guess
And
that's
fun.
something we can
and fun way.
embrace. Yep.
Sure.
So, obviously it's not going away, right? The apps, the phones, I mean, they're just going to be a part of our daily lives. Stephen, any thoughts on just how to manage all this in terms of, making sure that we're balancing? I think that's the key here, right?
Well, first of all, just to say it's all going to be all right. I mean, my baby is now 23, and she pretty much majored in Facebook at high school. And we just thought, you're never even going to get to college. Her first job, digital marketing.
Of course.
So, they will come through this. It is going to be all right. It doesn't feel like that at the time. It just does feel like an overwhelm. So take a deep breath. Don't get fearful. If you get fearful, then, things get a little bit out of control.
Yeah.
But if necessary, take phones away. Take the devices away. Give it a timeout.
And there are resources for folks out there. Tell us about FOSI's resources.
So at FOSI.org, we have something called Good Digital Parenting. There's tips, tools, resources, the 7 steps, all the things we've been talking
This is stuff we could talk about all day, but want to just say thank you to Carol, Melissa, Stephen. Give it up for them. Thank you so much for the
Thanks, Andy.
insight. Fantastic conversation. Brittany, we're going to send it over to you.
Guys, that was some really good advice. I'm an aunt and I'm on TikTok all the time with my nephew, but I love the digital free space idea. I think that's so awesome. So thank you for your insights and all your advice. Moving on, now we're going to shift gears and discuss the opposite end of the spectrum, which is what occurs when kids don't have access to technology. For this segment, I'll be talking with Verizon's Chief Social Responsibility Officer, Rose Kirk, and Assistant Superintendent in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg School District in North Carolina, Beth Thompson. I'm super excited for this conversation. Please put your hands together for Rose and Beth. Thank you guys for joining us. So Rose, you are the Verizon's Chief Social Responsibility Officer. That sounds like a really important title. What does social responsibility mean to Verizon?
So if you think about the world that we live in, we have amazing and huge social challenges that are impacting us around the world. But we are a technology company, and at our heart, we offer the technology that can solve so many of those issues. And for that reason, we think about the role that that technology can play in solving the world's biggest challenges, but we also think about our responsibility internally. And how do we ensure that we are doing the right things in our operations and how we show up and with our employees to make sure that they are ready and they are prepared to be successful inside of a digital economy?
I think it's so important to know that we have that role within the company because it's so important, especially now. I know that digital inclusion is something that we really focus on. It's a priority. Why is that?
You know, if you think about the change in the rapid pace of how technology is changing, everything from AI to robotics, we are seeing this inflection point in society in which individuals are either going to be left behind or they're going to be able to take advantage of that technology.
Right.
And so when we think about digital inclusion, it's all about ensuring that everyone, no matter what their socioeconomic status is, no matter where they live in the country or in the world, has the capacity and the ability to put technology to work so that they can be successful inside of that digital economy.
Absolutely. I think it's something we take for granted. We just assume everybody has access to a laptop or a computer or a smartphone, and that's really not the case.
Not only do we assume they have access, we assume they know what to do with it. Because it's not just about the fact that you have connectivity, that you have this device, but how do you use it? How do you apply it? How do you problem solve with it? How do you think about your own or your household's economic improvement as a result of it? So how great is it to be inside of a company like Verizon who's thinking about that every single day and applying that in very deliberate ways?
And one of those ways is the Verizon Innovative Learning. So can you tell us a little bit about what that is and why it's important?
Yeah, Verizon Innovative Learning is a program that we kicked off about 7 years ago because we recognized that there was this growing divide and it was happening inside of our school system, inside of education, and we leaned into schools where greater than 70% of the kids qualify for free or reduced lunch, or about 30% are actually kids with special needs. And we adopt those schools end to end and ensure that every teacher, student, administrator has the technology, the connection, the ability to apply sort of all of that digital technology into their academic programs and into the rigor of that school. And it has amazing results and impacts with kids just changing the way they show up, changing their attendance, changing their academic performance, and frankly, teachers changing the way that they are teaching. So it's a very successful program, and I think a really key example of how you can lean into ensuring there's digital inclusion.
Yeah, it sounds like it's kind of changing the game, and the Verizon Innovative Learning has made such an impact that so many schools across the country are adopting it. And in fact, there's a new TV spot which is going to premiere at the Emmy Awards this weekend. Yikes! About Verizon Innovative Learning, and we're thrilled to give you guys a sneak peek. Take a look.
I'll leave you with this. Do your best because your best is needed, and your best is needed every single day.
Students that come from underserved backgrounds, they don't think there is any other way of life. They think that's it for them. If we don't give them the tools that they need, they're not going to be competitive in the workforce that's waiting for them. In the past, Shawnee had no technology. With Verizon Innovative Learning, it's like someone had been listening to my thoughts on what education should be.
That is so cool for so many reasons. Why did Verizon choose this opportunity at the Emmys, though, to release this spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's important is that as much as we all understand the digital divide in Verizon, a lot of people in the country don't. And they're not familiar with it. It blows their mind to think that kids are showing up at schools without technology and being prepared to compete. And so what better stage to tell that story than the Emmy Awards, in which you can not only educate the nation, but also have them think about the role that they can play in making a change and driving change.
I was going to say, I think it's also reminding people that they can be active as well. It's not just something that big companies can do. I think everybody can have their own impact.
Absolutely.
And Beth, I know you were a principal in North Carolina. So can you describe the community in which your students are?
Sure. I've been the proud principal at Whitewater Middle School in Charlotte and was a part of an effort over the course of 5 years to really be able to do a complete school turnaround. Lots of our families have been in that community for a long time. Children are born into that community, and that's the world that they know. Families are working super, super hard on behalf of their children and want everything in the world for them. And our job at the school level is to be able to provide that. And over the past 5 years, we've been on this journey of really looking at what it is that supports our kids to be able to be successful and ultimately families to be able to be successful. And, by our state measures in North Carolina have exceeded growth for 5 straight years and have improved every single year, moving from one of the lowest performing schools in the district to being one of the highest. And so we're really excited for that work that has happened.
I love that. And that you can really track that progress is so important, again, I think for encouraging other school districts to adopt something like this. That was in big terms. On individual levels, have you seen students really sort of thrive from having Verizon Innovative Learning in the classroom?
Absolutely. So I think on a school perspective, what we've been able to do is have kids and families be able to see possibility where there was no possibility previously.
That is so cool.
And not only do they see things that are possible for them that they didn't know about, but now they have tools to be able to make that happen. So on a broad level, we were able to do a unit last year. It was my favorite one around nonfiction. And our belief system has shifted from we just need to teach you skills. So we just need you to know, we need you to know main idea and we're going to teach it until we're blue in the face. But we're actually going to learn something. And so we learned about waste and all the waste that happens in our community, both with physical waste, like things that we waste, but also human relationships that have waste that exists in them. And our kids did a deep dive while applying their literacy skills into that work and finally decided it is not okay that we use styrofoam trays in the cafeteria, which sounds like a small thing, but it means a lot to them and it means a lot to our community and to our world. And so they use their technology to be able to then create public service announcements to launch a campaign within our community. And our community responded with being able to donate money to be able to move to compostable trays at the end of the unit. And while that sounds like a small thing, the level of student engagement or when they're doing work that matters and they have the tools to be able to do that work, it's absolutely amazing and invigorating to watch happen.
That absolutely does not sound like a small thing. I think that sounds like an amazing thing. And when you look at just this generation, too, of students, and then once they have access to technology, how they use it to make the world a better place, I mean, God, it's like tear. I love it. Do you have the same reaction?
I do, because what we want these children to understand is that they don't have to wait for the Savior to come and rescue them, that they are empowered to say themselves and to change the world in which they live every single day in the communities in which they are a part of. And that's really important to us, is to make it very real to them and authentic to what they can do and how they can be their own change agents.
Yeah, so what can other schools do to become a part of this program?
So the way that we think about the program is we work across district levels with superintendents to identify schools that would be appropriate to be a part of Verizon Innovative Learning. So we have hundreds of schools across the nation. We will have 350 schools by 2021, and we give them the best of everything, including 5G. So as we are building out 5G, we are ensuring that the schools have access to it, and we're also putting labs inside of schools that give them all the technology they need to innovate and solve their own problems.
Beth, I see you're excited about 5G.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's those things that really bring, wow, they chose us, right? And they're pouring into us that makes all the difference in the world. We had a student who moved into North Carolina and attended our school for the first time last year. He was very introverted and almost didn't want to speak at all, but really got hooked into the work that was happening around technology. He became a part of our student tech team, which is a part of empowerment that happens in the learning that we get when we are a part of Verizon, and so emerged as a leader and ended the year showcasing work and being the spokesperson for our student tech team. He then has gone on to high school and chose a magnet option for him, specifically in engineering because of what he had learned, and says, like, I am going to be an engineer. And to think that a year and a half ago, none of that was even on the landscape for him is just really powerful. And it's just one example of what's happening across hundreds and thousands of kids.
That's so powerful. I mean, you build that confidence young, and we have no idea the impact that these students are going to have. So thank you both for joining us today. This was my favorite conversation. And now I'm excited to welcome Verizon's Chief Marketing Officer, Diego Scotti, to the stage. Diego is responsible for building Verizon's global brand, creating consumer awareness and advocacy, and driving customer preference for the brand through a wide range of channels. And speaking of advocacy, in 2016, Diego challenged Verizon's marketing agencies to improve diversity and inclusion within their companies. The next year, Verizon launched a unique fellowship program designed to help individuals from diverse backgrounds break into marketing and advertising. We call the program Ad Fellows. Take a look.
We talk a lot about diversity and inclusion, but sometimes you don't take that first step, which is starting to make change.
So the Ad Fellows program is an 8-month-long rotational marketing and advertising experience. The program is helping people from diverse backgrounds find their way and their foot into the industry.
It is opening the door to a group of people that typically don't get the door open for us.
You know, this program really kind of throws you into real work.
I helped pick that headline and that copy and that image, and now it's live on the website.
Verizon realized there aren't enough people of diverse backgrounds in marketing and advertising.
If you want to really engage and if you want to be meaningful, we need to reflect inside our offices the people that we're working for every day that are out there.
As they climb, they have to pull up, and they have to help others as they climb.
These Ad Fellows are the future, and I can't really wait to welcome them to our teams as full-time employees.
Hey, Diego, what's going on?
Hey, Brittany, how are you?
I'm
Good to be
so
here.
good. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I love this program. Tell me why we started it. What was the inspiration for it?
Well, first of all, if I may, I wanted to say something that is very important for all of us in marketing at Verizon. Since we're talking to a lot of folks that are outside of the company, if you want to work in marketing in a very creative, dedicated, and innovative team, this is the place to be. So,
right here.
There you go.
Don't look anywhere else, guys.
The inspiration for the program actually came from there. When we were started to build the new marketing team at Verizon, one of the things that we really committed to was to focus on diversity and inclusion. So 3 years ago, you mentioned that I took the first step of asking all of our agencies to show us their numbers on diversity. And guess what? The results weren't that inspiring. And this is an issue in the marketing and advertising industry as a whole, that really there's not a lot of diversity when you think about these people that are going to build the messages and the marketing programs that are going to speak to everybody in America. So we said, let's get together with 12 of our agencies. Let's create a program that it will be a rotation for 8 months. It will get these individuals to go through different rotations to learn about different aspects of marketing. And we made some very specific decisions, which was, number one, we're going to pay for all expenses. I firmly believe that one of the issues why in marketing and advertising there's not a lot of diversity is because if you don't have your parents that can put you in a city for like New York for 2 years until you get your feet wet and succeed, you're not going to make it. So we work with a lot of grassroots organizations that actually select the best talent. So then, because we bring really good talent, we can also guarantee 90% of hiring rate, which is super important. So then you don't just come and do some menial task and then go and do something else. We want you to do real work so then you get a real job.
Yeah. And this is the 3rd year. What have you learned from the 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year? How does the program continue to sort of evolve and change?
Well, first of all, I would tell you this. Adfellows wasn't my idea. It was the idea of the people that are doing this kind of work within Verizon that started with a very small idea, and we just like gave that a lot of emphasis. Aaron Spira and also Deidre Robinson are the 2 people in the company that are spearheading this work. And I tell you, we keep learning every year. And one of the interesting things is that this is not just an internship that you go to each of these rotations and you do the work. We give you a lot of training as well that comes separate from just the work that you're doing to make you a better leader, to understand how to grow in an organization. So we're learning constantly and making the program better. We're in our 3rd rotation, and a lot of new things coming this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned job placement being so important. I think it's so cool that people that wrap up the program then have jobs. And I know we have some in the audience,
We have
right?
some
Where
of
are we
our
at?
fellows right here. How you guys doing?
Can you stand just for a second or wave? Yeah, wave, there we are. So that's cool. I mean, finding the job is sort of the goal. So what does it mean for you that you can actually see them move on and find jobs?
I tell you, one of the things that gives me most satisfaction is to see how I always meet the fellows at the beginning, sometimes in the middle, and then at the end. When I see these individuals after 8 months, and I see the growth, the confidence, the ability for them to really want to take on anything, there's nothing better than that. I met the 3rd class yesterday, and somebody asked me, so what is success for you? You know, and I said, well, there are 2 answers for that. Number one is every time that I see an ad fellow that graduates and gets a job and that makes it, at least in that first step of their career, that's success. Yeah. Every one person that is diverse that gets a job, we are a little bit closer to the goal that we have. But then, this year we had really great news. We have 12 agencies that have collaborated with us on the program, and this year we also added 3 brand partners: American Express, Anheuser-Busch, and Walmart. The reason why this is important is because we want to make Fellows a program that anybody can actually take advantage of. So one of the things that we've done, and this is again something that I want to ask everybody that is interested on, all the know-how of the program is available for free for any company that wants to use it. So our team that is very dedicated meets with these companies, give them the advice and the know-how so they can create their own program or become part of ours. And that's tremendous because we want this to be as big as it could be.
So essentially companies no longer have a reason to allow that blind spot. I mean, AdFellows exists, they can use it.
Absolutely. Listen, so one of the things that I'm very passionate about is that we've been talking about diversity for a long, long time. In our industry, in society in general, it's time for action.
Yes.
I am very impatient about this topic because we can't just keep talking about it. We need to do something about it.
I am also very impatient on the topic. But what you're doing is innovative and you have been honored for it. So I know that AdFellows received the Catalyst Award by AdColor. So why is that significant? What does that do for encouraging people to be involved?
Well, first of all, we're very appreciative of the award that AdColor gave the team for this program. Fundamentally, what it does is just bring credibility to the program and also driving awareness. You know, as I said before, our goal is to make sure that everybody knows about this program, that can participate and also add value to it.
Well, guys, if you didn't know, now you know. So like you said, let's do some action, right?
Thank you so much.
Let's make some things happen. Diego, thank you so much for being here with us today. And speaking of AdColor, this is a great segue into our next segment. Let's bring up Dylan McGee, founder of Makers, who will tell us more. But first, watch this video.
How am I going to use myself for something that's bigger than me?
This is not my story, this is our story.
I started to ask myself, how do I give something back?
We need to just start encouraging one another to step through the fear.
Let's have a conversation around our differences for all equality.
There's still a lot of others who haven't been included yet. Until everyone is in the room, I think we still have work to do.
No one thinks we have the balls to pull this off.
A record-breaking number of women ran in the midterms and won.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the youngest woman ever elected to Congress.
Sharice Davids and Deb Haaland, the first Native American women elected to Congress.
Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, the first two Muslim women.
My responsibility is to tell you the truth. I am an independent person and I am no one's pawn.
I'm here to say never again for those girls too.
98-25. Chloe Kim, your Olympic champion.
Do people assume all your problems got solved because a big, strong man showed up?
Yes! What is up with that?
Tits up. Tits up.
The army that we seek is the human army. We are looking to make the world a better place for all of us.
Bringing all of us to the table fosters creativity, innovation, and prosperity.
It's on us, meaning it's on everybody to change the culture.
A global revolution is going to happen. Try things, be in your risk space today, because it's going to change the world.
Without all of us, we really aren't going to be able to make the changes that we all desire.
We have to talk to each other. We have to be in community with each other. We have to build with each other.
All of us. It means stepping into a place with everything that we have.
We just need to listen to each other and understand one another's point of view. And then we will all realize that we are so much more similar than we were told we were. And together we can achieve brilliant things.
Hi, everyone. What a morning we've had. It's been so great and inspiring. We've been sitting in the back just saying, oh, gosh, or can we hold up to all the talent that has been on this couch, but we think we can. We're actually going to switch the conversation today and move it towards gender equity and diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And so with me today, I have three powerhouse women, Christy, Pam, I got it, are you ready? Christy, Pam, Bianchi. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay,
you got it right.
I was like, they were like, say Yankee. Okay. So Christy, we're so excited, Verizon. Christy is 8 weeks in to being the EVP and Chief Human Resources Officer of Verizon. Big job. Now, just give us, you came from, this isn't a question, but I just want to give everyone a sense of scale. So you came from Corning, which had how many employees?
52,000.
And now you are at Verizon that has?
135,000.
Wow. Okay. Big job. We'll get to that in a second. Tammy Irwin. Tammy Irwin is a friend, and the EVP and CEO of Verizon Business Group. You can tell I'm a filmmaker. These titles don't flow off. That's like, okay. She's a CEO and amazing and runs how big a business do you run?
It's a $32 billion business, so it's big. And
it's big.
Worldwide.
Okay, all right. Tiffany Warren, also a friend, and is the president and founder of AdColor. And give everyone just a sense of what AdColor is.
AdColor is an organization that I started now, 15 years ago, really to address one particular issue, which is I wasn't seeing people of color being honored on the stage. So my idea was just to start this little award show. So fast forward, we're now a community of 20,000 plus, and we not only have the award show, but the conference and a group of young professionals that we choose every year called AdColor Futures. So I'm super proud. We just completed our conference 1 week ago.
I know. In fact, we asked her while she was on her conference, and she's like, yes, I have no idea what I'm saying yes to, but I'll do it. And you honored Diego, who we just saw.
That was a super honor because I do have Verizon pedigree. I was a inroads intern from 1992 to 1995-ish. And then I kind of off-tracked and went into advertising because I was in the marketing department there, and I really, really wanted to be an ad pro. So I'm really honored to see Ad Fellows flourish, and we were honored to honor them.
Well, if Ad Fellows can create someone like you, sign me up. It's amazing.
Thank you.
All right, Tammy, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
What is so interesting, it's been fun to watch you as a leader. And I think when we look at diversity and inclusion and gender equity, there's always this, we have to start at the top, and it is important. It has to be a mandate. This is something that matters. But there's also this idea of shared responsibility.
Yeah.
And what happens when that becomes a part of moving towards gender equity?
Yeah, so listen, I think we've made so much progress, and yet we have so far to go. And this is a conversation you and I have had often. And when we think about shared responsibility, I think back over the last 15 to 20 years as we've watched the women's movement, and it started with a lot of conversation, women talking to women, and we talked about the problem. Now we've shifted to talking about the action. I think Diego said it well. It's time to act. We can no longer define the problem. We have to take action. And it can't just be women talking to women. It has to be women who engage and include men in the conversation, because this is a leadership issue. It is an economic issue, and it is the only way we fully unlock the potential of the talent within our organization. And so when I think about the opportunity, if we don't invite men to be part of this conversation, we're missing half the population. And we need them to be advocates. We need them to understand the strengths that women bring. We need to understand the vulnerabilities that we have, and we need them to be part of the solution.
Agreed.
Agreed.
We actually started Makers Men a few years ago, and we had this women's conference, and they said, "You're bringing men?"
Yeah.
It's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's important.
And by the way, they're dads who now have young girls that are growing up. They're like, I want my daughter to have that same opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't want her to have to work harder or smarter. She should have that same opportunity and be paid the same amount of money.
Equal pay. Should we go there?
Equal pay.
All right, Christy, I'm actually speaking of equal pay. Let's go to you. So you're 8 weeks in. You clearly have immersed yourself, although, 8 weeks is not a full immersion, so we'll give you a little bit of a hall pass there. But I'm curious, for all of these Verizon employees and those tuning in, what's your analysis of where Verizon is on diversity and inclusion? What's working in the company?
I think it's Verizon is, I think, one of the best examples of a company that really truly believes in diversity and inclusion as a core value and a guiding principle for how it operates as a company, and really takes very seriously our responsibility to not only serve the customers we have, but our communities and our employees and our shareholders. So I think it's very exciting. I think you heard already from leaders here, it's not just, kind of posters that we see in the halls or things that we have on the webpage. And I think that's pulled through into the kind of diversity we have on our leadership team, diversity we have in the rank and the file of the company. And I've been practicing HR now for 30 years, and I'm wildly passionate about the fact that we need to have equality in the workplace. And to be honest, right now, where we have the lowest unemployment that we've had in probably 20 plus years, employers are not going to be able to attract and keep the talent that they're going to need to compete if they don't have these really highly advanced integrated workplaces where everybody can bring their whole selves to work, where people have transparency around the way in which they're paid, rewarded, et cetera. And I think Verizon stands for all of those principles, and I'm really happy to help bring them to life with the leaders that I get to work with and the employees on the team.
Well, and it's fun when you hear colleagues saying, we're about action. Like, enough about talk,
Absolutely.
we're about action, and now you're in the role, and you're ready for action.
Yeah, and I think we're at a tipping point. When I started working in the early 90s, there was less than 10% women in the workplace. When I had my oldest son, who turns 20 tomorrow, of my 4 kids, after putting my husband through 10 years of grad school, I was asked if I was going to stay home. And I was the first person in my family to put my child in daycare. And you fast forward now, and over 50% of college graduates are women. Over, a massive percent of the workplace is now comprised of women in every industry. And so we are at a tipping point, both in terms of representation with people of color and women in the workplace. And we can help shape the dialogue, and as Tammy mentioned, really bring other people into it. And other people are touching it and experiencing it in a way that was different 30 years ago. And so I feel like we need to capitalize on the moment where we are now.
I agree. That's all I'm going to just say. I agree. One of the interesting things, while there has been a lot of progress, I don't know, for those of you who read the broadsheet that comes out from Fortune every day, today there's this article about a congressional hearing that happened actually back in the spring, and the congressman asked all the heads, this was about Wall Street, and heads of banks, 7 heads of banks, they were all white men, and they said, do you see your successor being a woman or a person of color? Raise your hand. No hands were raised. So it is being talked about, but there's not a lot of action. And so I turn it to you, Tiffany. You're just coming off your conference. And we actually had a woman named Janae Hawkins, who's part of the Makers team, and she came back flying high. And I said, what was it? And for her, it was, there are conversations happening at AdColor that aren't happening anywhere else. So I want to learn, we want to learn from you, what are the conversations that aren't really happening?
I think where we differ is that we're comfortable being uncomfortable. So there's conversations that are happening that sometimes get diluted, and sometimes are just focused on really the high level parts of the conversation, where we talk about things like broadening the binary. People are still uncomfortable with asking someone what is their preferred pronoun. And the people who receive that feel like they're being assaulted if you do not address them in their preferred pronoun. We try to take the conversation to a higher level and a more specific level, because generally that's what's actually going on in the companies. I think people participate in the surface level things, but what they really want to know is when they have conversations about broadening the binary, or one other conversation that we partnered with Makers on was Heavy as the Crown, the state of women of color in the workplace, where we had a diverse panel of women from all different levels in their career talk about, and even disabilities, talk about what it's like for them to be not only a woman, but then be a woman of color. And so I think what I charge companies and what I charge everyone to do who's listening is to make the conversation more specific and more, I heard the word transparent. Transparent is important, but if the low information employee, which is the person who may or may not get the information from the website or the well manicured brochures, if they're not receiving the information, then really what are you doing? And it's a challenge for all companies, big and small. I work for a very large company. There's 75,000 employees, and it's really hard to get all the information to everyone. So what we try to do is have specific conversations that have appeal to everyone.
So just give me an example of one specific conversation that really inspired you this year that we could all have.
Well, it's okay. Well,
and uncomfortable.
Should I do the personal or professional? So personally, my favorite conversation was I told you with my childhood idols, Belle Biv DeVoe from New Edition. I'm just keeping it real. That was amazing, and I kept blacking out during the conversation because I went to my 12-year-old self. That was personal. The professional, I think the conversation I most enjoyed and I was most challenged by was Liz Jackson, who's a disability advocate, and she is the founder of the Disabled List. I mean, even with our theme, she said, that's a little problematic. I'm like, oh, we studied months to create this theme. We had focus groups. And she was like, it's problematic because not everyone can stand. And our theme was take a stand. So I was willing to put her on stage for 20 minutes to obviously speak about what was important to her and to have her teach us about our biases around disabilities. But then she took a moment to say, you know, the theme is problematic. That took a lot of courage, and it made me very uncomfortable. But I removed my ego, and I said, you know what, in that 20 minutes, she taught not only me, but my organization that going forward, when we think about themes, we have to think about the access of our theme to everyone. So it's something as simple as that, where it started with a conversation actually in Cannes when she presented for Google to her being on my stage months later, basically bringing us all to school about our biases.
Well, it's also, it's bold of you, too, to be that vulnerable, to be willing to have that conversation. And it is that vulnerability in those honest conversations. And to your point, those specific conversations, that's where this action is actually going to happen. Tammy, but I'm also interested in, we talk a lot about Verizon and the great work that's being done, but you also have the power of working with brands from some of Fortune 50's most powerful companies. So how do we take it out of our little silos and really harness the power of all of these partners?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. I've been in this role now for about 6 months, and I've had a chance to talk to CEOs, CIOs around the world at big enterprise organizations, and everyone is struggling with how do I intensify and really bring to life diversity, inclusion, and authenticity. And so the conversation is shifted from, do I have a seat at the table, to can my voice be heard, and can I bring an authentic me to the work environment? And it doesn't matter whether you're in France, whether you're in Singapore, whether you're in New York City, everyone is having that conversation. And so one of the things I love is the ability to have honest, candid conversations about it, and then share some of the things we're doing and learn from others. You know, you talked about biases. We have these unconscious biases that we're completely unaware of. And I have to just, confess, we did this unconscious bias training at Verizon a couple of years ago, and I said, yeah, I don't need to go. I got that figured out. I don't have any unconscious biases. And I went, and I was blown away. To your point, you have a great theme, stand up, and you had an unconscious bias. You didn't think about it. And I think so much of that is true. If we don't talk about the difficult things, if we don't put a spotlight on the problem, we can't begin to solve the problem. And then once we do, we need to admit what are the actions we need to take. And it keeps coming back to what actions. One of the things I'm particularly proud of is Makers as a brand. So I just have to do a shout out, Dylan, for you.
Oh,
Go on. But that's a storytelling way to talk about women who've made a difference. They've had the courage to make a stand and do something.
By the way, they've all failed.
And they've all failed, right? Because that's part of the process, right? One of the things that we've done at Verizon is we created a program called Women at Wireless. We've now changed it to Women of the World, right? And it's, woo! For those of you in the audience, thank you. But it's the ability to talk about and acknowledge that women approach the work environment differently. We come at work with less confidence. Our communication skills are not always at the same par as men. And by the way, we don't take the time to network because we're busy doing other stuff, like taking care of kids and being a perfect mom and a wife and all those things. This is about how do you shore up so that you really have the skills and capabilities to show up the way that men can hear you talk. And I think that's important too. That's that investment, that's action.
Okay, well, that word action keeps coming up, Christy. Vulnerability, specifics, all these things. Yeah. So you sit overseeing HR for 130,000 people. That's got to be so exciting and so scary. I'm curious, listening to this, 8 weeks in, what's the vision for you? What are you excited about?
Well, I'm very excited about, I think, what is a great history that's already been laid and a real commitment on the part of the Verizon leadership team to continue to distinguish ourselves as an employer of choice and one of the best places for people to build their careers and be successful personally and professionally. I think we want to continue to be able to attract, develop, retain the best women in the world and have a thriving workplace. So we want to build on that. Tammy highlighted some of the very specific accelerator programs that we've developed to really help women understand how to unlock their full potential, how to be able to articulate what is it that they actually want to achieve. Often when I'm counseling and helping people with their career development, I find in particular people that, and sometimes in the way in which girls and then eventually women have been raised is not to speak up, not to say what they want, be seen and not heard. All of these age-old adisms. And in companies, there you are, like, hey, that's awesome. I bet you, what would you like to do? And so we really need to help women be comfortable articulating, this is what I would like to achieve. This is the vision and I dream I have of what I might be one day. And so these accelerator programs are really important. And then being able to have a way to retain and motivate and bring integrated teams together is going to be really important.
Well, I'm going to speak up. So, and this is something that you and I are going to work together, and we're going to pull Tammy in. Every year on the Maker stage, our companies, and we have 60-plus companies, stand up on the stage and they make a pledge over what change they're going to make over the next year. Tiffany has done this a couple times now. And so one of the things that we don't have to pick the pledge now, but I'm excited to work with both of you because I think we want Verizon to be a leader in this space. And to do that, we're going to have to do something really bold. So it's September. We've got till February to craft our really bold message together.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
Are we in?
We'll be big, we'll be
Okay.
bold.
All right, we're
We'll
going to play
have
a quick
North
game
Star.
before it. So
game?
it's not a game. I mean, so here's the thing. We talk about women, or we're terrible at bragging about ourselves. So this is just a quick little thing. Everyone take one of these. Okay. And you get a Sharpie, too. It's like an art project. And you are going to write down, and keep it private. You're going to write down, I'm sorry, I wasn't talking in the microphone, one word that describes what makes you a really good leader. Okay? We're terrible about bragging about ourselves, but you are going to announce to the world the one thing that makes you a really good leader. Turn it over. So while you're thinking, I'll give you a second. The reason we do this, and I'll talk to the audience and all of you, is at some point when we were doing makers, we thought, is there one recipe for what it takes to be a maker? Is there one thing that all of these women have in common? And we asked all the women this handful of questions, and it turned out it was 50-50. And I was so disappointed. I was like, oh, that's so boring. I want a headline. All leaders wake up at 6 a.m. or something big like that. And someone said, no. The great thing is that leadership comes in all shapes and sizes. And all of you represent so many different, incredible parts of being a leader. So we're going to find out from you what your secret sauce is. Christy's looking at me. All right, you're going first. Or everyone, just reveal them all at once. Let's do it because I don't have enough time. Empathy, great. Passion, yes. Humility, see, it's all different, and you all are incredible leaders. And how much time do I have? 30 seconds. Okay. Give me 10 seconds on why you picked empathy.
I view my job as a leader to help everybody on my team become their personal best.
Yes.
Wow. Passion, because I believe you have to be passionate about everything you do, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's not about me, it's about you.
Thank you, everybody. Christy, Tammy, Tiffany. So now we're going to turn it over to, a real moderator, the woman who inspires me, Brittany Cooper.
You were amazing. Don't shortchange yourself. And also, I love that let's get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is so important. Thank you, ladies, for that talk. It was amazing. So when people think of Verizon, they often view us as a wireless character. But in reality, technology is at the heart of everything we do. Today, we want to introduce you to other aspects of Verizon that you may not be as familiar with. Think of this like our speed dating segment. Our first example is called Visible, an all-digital phone company owned by Verizon, so you won't find any stores. Instead, Visible is run through an app by a team based in Denver, Colorado. The team is also super passionate about social good, and they run an accelerator program called Visible Connect, which helps nonprofits solve social issues using mobile technology. Take a look.
We're starting something new, not only as an innovative wireless carrier, but as a company that firmly believes that by using the power of technology to connect, we can help bring visibility and solutions to some of the toughest issues facing our communities today.
Visible Connect is the first accelerator program that is really designed for mobile technology nonprofits. And as far as I know, it probably will be the first ever for a while until others catch up.
Visible and Uncharted provide technology, connections, capital, and clarity to support entrepreneurs using mobile technology to create impact across the country.
The great thing about having the access to these visible phones is that we are constantly hosting trainings, workshops in every corner of New York. So to have a device in hand that folks can register and access our services through has been instrumental.
The financial component of the accelerator program was invested in making our mobile application for our parents better. And now it's reaching more than 50,000 parents across the US.
There were experts that we got introduced to that are still advisors to us today, which has been wonderful. To be a part of this program, to have an organization essentially take a bet on you as a small nonprofit startup, really does go far.
If you are passionate about contributing to a social issue and the language that you speak is in design and technology, this program is an opportunity to really learn and think about how you can approach what you care about.
Any nonprofit that is trying to utilize technology for greater impact should absolutely apply to Visible Connect.
I feel like it's kind of a world where the rising tide lifts all boats, and that rising tide is the increasing movement of using technology for good and more nonprofits having more of a tech-forward approach.
In the first year of Visible Connect, the energy and drive among the nonprofits was really inspiring. I honestly can't wait to see what kind of impact we can help them create next year.
In an emergency situation, time is critical. Just a few seconds can mean the difference between life and death. That's why business customers like Angel MedFlight rely on Verizon and our networks to do their job. That's why we're building the best networks so that business customers like Angel MedFlight can continue to save lives. Check it out.
Angel MedFlight is a worldwide air ambulance, and what we do is we transport patients that are everything from a spinal cord injury, traumatic brain injury, transplant recipients. Anything that really involves a medical condition is something that we would be a part of. For us, our mantra is every moment counts. You really need technology to push that. We face a lot of technology challenges. Number one is just the communication with the clinicians. When you have a clinician that is going to be anywhere in the world at any given time, and you need to get them a medical record, you have to be able to do that without them having to worry about where are they going to find their internet connection? Are they going to have a laptop? Are they going to bring that laptop out? So what we've done is we've built an application that allows our crews to be constantly in contact with the office, have all of the medical records that they need at their fingertips. They're able to do their pre-flight charting. They're able to do their risk assessment, and they do all that communication through the iPad. There is absolutely no way we could do what we do every day if we did not have the best network reliability possible. Having 5G would really open up a world of possibilities for us, and possibilities change lives. If you can give me one possibility to change a life, I'm going to take it.
Up next, meet Skyward, another Verizon company based in Portland, Oregon, which is the leading authority on safe, efficient drone operations. Steve Van Dinter has more.
When people think of drones, sometimes there can be a bit of a negative public perception. In fact, more than 4 years ago when Skyward was founded, it was illegal to fly drones throughout the United States. Fast forward to today, flying drones is not only legal, but Skyward, now a Verizon company, is using the drones and their technology to help transform the world for good.
We work with commercial customers, and drones help them save time, they help them save money, they help them keep employees out of danger. Drones also help us improve the communities that we live in. One of our customers, Southern Company, sent a team down to Puerto Rico to aid in power restoration after Hurricane Maria. And they put drones to work pulling 72,000 feet of rope for conductor wire so they could restore power. Drones will change the way we gather data, we transport goods, and we transport people. And ultimately what that means is that drones are going to really transform the way we access the world. And that reduces our carbon footprint. That means you don't necessarily have to roll a truck to get the data that you want or to deliver the package that you want. We're going to be able to fly a connected drone over the 5G network. That's going to give us real-time data insights and the secure, low-latency communications network that we need for autonomous flight.
As we learned today, drones are making a positive impact on our world. When you consider the power of 4G and 5G connectivity paired up with the technology from companies like Skyward, they'll continue to have a positive impact in the future as well.
When we talk about digital inclusion, disability is one group that often gets overlooked. But we're proud to have a team here within Verizon Media that works to ensure that inclusion includes everybody, which means people with physical, sensory, and cognitive disabilities. Here with us today is Margot Jaffe, Director of Accessibility Marketing at Verizon Media. Welcome, Margot.
Thank you. Thank you, Brittany.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to be here today to talk about neurodiversity and accessibility, topics that I am very passionate about, both professionally and personally.
Yes, and I know you do have a personal story why this is extra important to you, so can you share that with us?
Yes. So I have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I know it's a very flattering label. But I lived undiagnosed until I was 29 years old. And what I learned through my experience was not unique. 50 to 75% of women with ADHD go undiagnosed until adulthood, creating what has been called a lost generation of women who face consequences such as higher rates of eating disorders, substance abuse, higher rates of incarceration, and self-harm. I learned that almost 50%, half of women with ADHD, have seriously considered suicide at some point in their life. This is a community that needs attention and support, and I wanted to make a difference in this area. That's what inspired me to start Kaleidoscope Society, an empowering community for women with ADHD, about 5 years ago. And we've been able to reach, connect, and empower thousands of women in over 100 countries around the world. That experience changed my life, and I knew that I wanted to dedicate the next chapter in my career to advancing access and inclusion on a much broader scale.
And it was such a personal journey for you, but even when you finally had that diagnosis, was it easy to talk about that at work?
It was not.
Yeah.
I was living a double life. I actually was an advocate in the community, but when I came into the workplace, I didn't talk about mental health. I didn't talk about neurodiversity because of the stigma. 55% of people with a mental health condition will not disclose it to anyone in their life for fear it will impact their career. And I finally reached a point where I felt so inauthentic, and covering takes a toll on us. When we're hiding a part of our identity, it's a barrier to inclusion. It makes us feel inauthentic, it's exhausting. And the day finally came when I knew it was time for me to step into my truth and to step into my power, because I wanted to use whatever privilege I had and the influence that I had to pave the way for other people that didn't have that opportunity.
And you've become an advocate at work for other people. So what has that been experience like, just building that community, and how important has that been?
Yeah, I wanted to dispel the stigma in the workplace around mental health and neurodiversity. And so that's what inspired me to help start the Neurodiversity Employee Resource Group at Verizon Media. And in the past couple of years, we've been able to grow from a couple of employees now to a global network of support for employees. There's 12 chapters. We have members in 35 offices around the world. And so our mission is to empower all minds in the workplace through education, awareness, and a network of support. It's been an amazing, life-changing experience. I'm so proud of the group and our new global leaders, Matt Johnstone and Nadine Perrin, who are now leading the charge on that group.
And what exactly is neurodiversity?
Great question. Neurodiversity is short for neurological diversity. Basically, minds of all kinds in the human species. The idea that there's a normal brain is actually a story that society makes up. Science shows us that there's an infinite range of neurocognitive functioning in our species, minds of all kinds. And difference doesn't have to mean deficit. And we see a lot of examples of neurodiversity in the workplace that actually come with strengths. So you take dyslexia, for example, learning disability, but it comes with incredible strengths. Pattern recognition, spatial awareness, visual processing, the ability to be creative business leaders. You look at Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, Jobs, Damon John, all dyslexic. You look at autism, ability to process a huge amount of information about topics that they care about, honest, direct communication, memory. Look at Greta Thunberg, global climate activist, 14 years old with Asperger's. She's on the autism spectrum. ADHD, of course, have to represent creativity, resiliency, passion, ability to think outside the box. Amazing people with ADHD. Solange, Richard Branson again, Lisa Ling, so many others. And so what makes you different can be your greatest asset, and we want to support neurodiversity in the workplace to leverage this potential of all of our employees and to help us to continue to be an innovative company that we are.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own superpowers, you know, and I love that we have a company that embraces that. What's next for the group? Are there any specific projects that you're working on?
Yeah, the group's going to be rolling out mental health first aid, which is going to be a great program to help employees recognize the signs of mental health distress and help appropriately connect their colleagues or their friends with resources inside and outside the company.
You're also on the team in the company that really is focused on accessibility and inclusion for all people. So can you tell us a little bit about what that group is focusing on?
Yes. I'm really proud to be part of the accessibility team at Verizon Media. So at Verizon Media, we talk about creating premium experiences for all. And when we say all, we mean all, everybody, including people with disabilities. There's over 1 billion people in the world who live with some type of disability. 35% of US households have at least one family member with a disability. This is an incredibly large and important audience for us at Verizon Media and Verizon as a whole. So the accessibility team, we're dedicated to making all of our products and services accessible to people with disabilities.
And we have a lot of different platforms within our company, a lot of different brands. So what does accessibility actually look like on those different projects or platforms?
Great question. One example of accessibility is captioning. So to get meta for a second, if you're watching this video on your computer or your phone, there's a little CC button. You hit it, captions will come up. That's something our team does. We work to make sure all of our original content is captioned. Yahoo Finance has 8 hours of live market coverage every weekday. You might not know that fun fact. And so we work to make sure all of those 8 hours a day are captioned in real time so everyone can access and enjoy that content. Another great example is we work with our product teams to make sure all of our apps are compatible with screen readers. So users who are blind can also enjoy all of our apps.
Yeah.
Yahoo Fantasy is a great example of this. It's actually the #1 rated fantasy app for many years in a row. It's a great fantasy app. If you don't have a league, you should start one, join one. But we work to make that optimized for screen readers. So users who are blind, you can start a league, you can be a commissioner, you can join a league, and we've even built in screen reader shortcuts, so you can quickly add and drop players, check your league standings, switch between games, and you can have blind users can have just as amazing experience as sighted users. So those are just a few examples. I could talk about this all day.
That's so impressive. I mean, unfortunately, it's stuff that I don't even think about. And I think it's so important that we have a team who is focusing on that just every day to make sure that our customers and our consumers are brought in. That's so important. I know that your team is also working with Getty Images and NDLA to kind of increase the media representation for people with disabilities. And I think we have a video that kind of explains that. We'll throw to that really quick.
The faces you see in your day-to-day life ultimately define your perspective on what's normal.
What you're frequently seeing is this idea of disabled as lesser, disabled as something that needs to be fixed. I don't need to be fixed from what I am. I just want to be included, and I think that we all do.
People with disabilities make up about 20% of the population, but only 2% of our media. Let's change that.
Okay, let's go.
Verizon, the disability community, and Getty Images are creating a new photo collection that more accurately reflects the lives and diversity of people with disabilities.
We can do anything, and it requires the media to help get that message out.
Let's change how the world sees disability.
Thank you.
Get started at thedisabilitycollection.com.
So you guys launched this partnership this year? Last year. How's
200,000 photographers around the world through the Getty Image Network. We've had thousands of images that have been submitted, and we're working with the National Disability Leadership Alliance to curate these images. So currently, the disability collection is 1,400 images strong. They're available for anyone, anywhere in the world to license, download, and use to have more authentic disability representation in media and marketing. And most excitingly, that's not even a word.
It is now.
Okay, excitingly. Over 5,000 companies have downloaded these images. So we're really, really proud of the impact that we've been able to make so far. And what's up next? We're really excited today. We're announcing, Getty Images and Verizon Media are announcing that we're going to be awarding $40,000 in grant funding to emerging photographers who are documenting life with disability. We want to support up-and-coming photographers to join us in our mission to have more inclusive representation of disability in the media. So we're really excited to announce that. And
I love that. You know, I used to be a writer and editor at Yahoo Finance and Yahoo Travel, and we would write these articles, and it is very important to have diversity in the pictures that you choose to reflect these stories. So I love that there's an extra effort to make that accessible for all the writers out there who want to be as inclusive as possible. Now they have a resource.
You can only be as inclusive as the choices that you have.
Exactly.
So we wanted to give the media and the people on the ground, the editors, the writers, better choices so they could be more inclusive in their day-to-day.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, we have another announcement. I want to introduce Dr. Sanyogita Shamsuder, who is the VP of 5G Ecosystems and Innovation at Verizon. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, welcome. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I do love how we're like slightly color coordinated. We took a photo backstage. I was like, we look good, guys. So your team works on how 5G will shape our world. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the work you're doing.
Yes, I'm such a fantastic team. So as we bring up our 5G network, and we announced, I think, today New York, my team works, my team works with the innovators, the builders, and the developers in the country, various locations in the country. We have 5 labs to bring in and build products, future products and experiences that are not possible today at scale, right? So some things that we did more recently are we invited innovators in the first responder industry to take the technologies that we have and we are bringing into our network, the 5G network and immersive technologies and so on, great location technologies, take it together and build products and solutions for the first responder community so they can do their job better. Another example is we worked with we had the 5G Tech Challenge, where we brought in innovators to build tools and education tech to transform essentially middle school education. So those are some examples of things that we did with the innovators outside the company. We also have innovation inside the company, technology development inside the company, where we use the technology to solve our own internal problems, transform, and so on. So we have a wide variety of stuff going on in this 5G labs. And you can all get a sneak peek of some of that tech coming up in a tech demo day in Irving, Texas in November. And then we also have an accessibility summit building on the great work that the Verizon Media Group accessibility team, as well as our consumer experiences team on the Verizon side. We have an accessibility summit coming up in our New York 5G labs in October, on October 3rd. And Margot, if you want to chime in and talk about what you guys are doing there with us.
Yeah, so there's a lot of great work happening around accessibility within the company. So Verizon Media Accessibility Team is partnering with the Verizon Consumer Group and Verizon Business Group accessibility teams. We want to recognize and highlight this great work that's happening through the Accessibility Champions Awards that are going to be given out in October. So if you yourself or a team that you work on is doing great work in accessibility, nominate yourself, nominate a team for the Accessibility Champions Awards. All the information's on the intranet. You can find it.
That's amazing. Was that your announcement? Because
No,
that sounded, for me, that was such a gift. I'm like, this is great.
Today.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, and we're done. You have an announcement to share.
We are going beyond that, right? we believe that digital inclusion not just includes the accessibility, the great work that is going on today, but how can we use the new technologies that are coming in the future to build new products and better products and services for our customers and the community at large, right? So today we are announcing the V Team Accessibility Challenge. We invite all of our the best of our talent, the best of our assets, right, that we have, the people, the V-teamers at Verizon, to participate in this challenge and use the tech, use the emerging tech such as immersive AR, immersive VR, 5G technologies, as well as artificial intelligence and so on, and collaborate with the teams to come up with new solutions and new product ideas for accessibility.
That's so cool. So how do people find out more?
So stay tuned for more information coming out, and there'll be all the information that we have. How are we partnering with the accessibility teams inside the company, the ERG resource groups that Margot mentioned, as well as outside the company. The technology, there are different organizations that focus on disability and accessibility outside the company. We would be partnering with them as well to help champion this effort within Verizon. So stay tuned for more information in your Inside Verizon mailbox in the next few weeks.
There's so much to look forward to, Sanyogita and Margot. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Now we're going to turn to the future of our planet. We're going to discuss sustainability and climate protection. It's actually something that Verizon has been committed to for quite some time. Let's start with this video.
Boy, that just inspires you, doesn't it? Hey, they say it's not easy being green, but we've got a team that makes it look pretty easy. Joining us are Jim Gowan, Verizon's Chief Sustainability Officer, Tara Nealon, Phoenix Montanez, two Verizon Green team members, along with Alina Elisario from our product team. Welcome to our Green team.
Hi. Thank you.
Jim, we're going to start with you. You know, sustainability means so many different things for so many different people. And let's be honest, talk is cheap when companies say, hey, we're green, we're sustainable, but it looks like Verizon's doing quite a bit.
Andy, first off, you, Brittany, and the entire Builder program, outstanding. This has been one of the best things we've been involved.
Let's give
Way to go.
Bill.
But what I will say is sustainability, we've been on a journey, 10 years. 10 years this month, we're celebrating our sustainability journey. And at Verizon, we take an incredibly holistic approach. We look at everything from how we work to how we play. We have a saying, work green, live green. And that's everything from the buildings where we work every day to how we operate them, whether it's smart metering or renewable energies, all the way through the vehicles we drive in this city right here in New York alone. Over 2,000 Verizon green or alternatively fueled vehicles.
Awesome.
And then all the way down to how we look at recycling, how we look at end-to-end logistics, supply chain. It's in our DNA.
I mean, you could put a green lens on just about everything.
Well, we have to be honest, we really have to. And when you're the size of Verizon with over 130,000 employees, as Christy was talking about, we have that social responsibility to work green and live green.
So let's go from our macro perspective down to micro here. Tara, I want to ask you, as a member of the Green team, tell us about why you joined and why this was important for you personally.
So for me, it's just, you know, it's important to have something that your company believes in and that you believe in as well. So I joined the green team before I joined the sustainability team. So it's been a journey, and it's really something to be proud to be a part of.
And what I love, and Felix, chime in here, talk about just what it means to be a member, because I think when folks look at what can I do, I mean, the green team is an example of that. I mean, it truly can be one individual making big changes.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. And, one model that I think of is no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And it's just about giving time back and contributing to the communities that we all live in.
Are you constantly like looking around the office or at home being like, how can I be green?
I do, and I really appreciate this group. They give us so much good information on things that we can change in our own personal lives. And it's awesome, great thing to be a part of.
Jim, what's it like to see members of your green team talk about, what they can do?
It's awesome. With over 30,000 of them in over 50 countries, Felix, Tara, Selena, it's just awesome and makes you proud.
Yeah, let's get Helena in the mix here from our product team. So Helena, you brought a couple of cases here, and retail and the product space, I mean, there's a big push to get sustainable in that area, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. If you think about all the products that we sell in our stores, and we sell millions of phones and millions of cases, and you break that all down into the little pieces of packaging and the components that go into it, and you think about all the trash that we used to make, we've made some really big changes based on that and tried to become much more sustainable in the way that we do things and make things more recyclable. And I brought a couple really cool examples.
This is so cool. This is so cool. So we've got some phone cases here, and tell us about what you got there.
So this is the Tech 21 Pure Clear case. And if you look around, you guys can see, but they look identical, right? You guys can't tell the difference at all. And they've done a really amazing job just making little changes that make a big impact. So these hangers, this one before was plastic, not really sustainable. They've changed them to cardboard, and you can't tell the difference. The plastic here, this used to be made out of PET. PET is not recyclable. And what they've actually done is they've changed it to a plant-based material, and that's this whole thing you just put right in the recycling bin now, and it's completely recyclable.
I was holding both of those packaging cases, and they feel the same, they look the same. I mean, you really don't have to do too much in terms of the presentation of the package.
No, not at all. And so that's just the packaging. So the other cool thing to show you is, so this is the actual phone case. And this was last year's phone case, and this is this year's. They look completely identical too. Last year's, this was made from petroleum oil, and this year's is plant-based as well. So sustainable, comes from a sustainable place. Really, really exciting. It was really cool. We can think about what we think about what we can do.
Yeah, what was the tipping point for you? I know that at some point, when you're in that product space, the packaging, the plastic, the wrapping, I mean, it gets unbearable sometimes.
It's insane. So I'm the phone case buyer at Verizon. So I manage the full portfolio of phone cases that we sell, and I unpackage a lot of phone cases, thousands, and I make a lot of trash. And I think for me, one of the things that I noticed was I'm making a lot of trash just myself, and if you think about these little changes can make a big difference in what we can do. So that's something that we've really taken to across our portfolio.
Felix, are these things that the green team talks about? I mean, whether it's packaging or just, little ways to acknowledge that there are places to make changes within the company? Is that kind of how we operate with the green team?
Yeah, I mean, and Tara does a great job at this. Tara is always facilitating information out to the broader company and the green team members. Some of the things that we're doing, and Jim can speak to this better, but going on a plastic diet, removing a lot of the plastic containers that we've had at the company, moving to more eco-friendly materials.
Yeah, Tara, you had such a great observation. When you drive into work, you see something that moves you, that inspires you, and it should really inspire all of us.
Yeah, so I drive into the office every day, and when I pass the solar panels, it makes me smile to see that Verizon is just as committed to protecting our planet as our green team members are. It's really impressive.
What a great reminder for every start of the new day there. Jim, talk about, you're the chair of the Global E-Sustainability Initiative. Tell us about that, your involvement.
Yeah, so Jesse, which is based out of Brussels, Verizon is very lucky to be the chair for the next 3 years. We are very focused on bringing the industry together. Although we may be very fierce competitors at times for customers and things, when we look at sustainable solutions, we realize that, the rising tide lifts all ships, and our industry has that opportunity. So just next week, right here in New York, Jesse will be launching the Smarter 2030 report, which is going to be all Jesse members, and we're going to be pushing forward with what the ICT sector can do to really enable smart solutions, whether they be in transportation, whether they be in healthcare, a lot of 5G-related things, but it's really an awesome collaboration of an entire sector.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I mean, this is not a conversation that's something that's nice to do. I mean, we need to have this conversation.
Absolutely, and that is what bringing out people's personal passion about this, and then with the incredible smart people we have here at Verizon, it's just really, it's a great thing to see.
Yeah, also happening next week, much to the chagrin of New York commuters, the UN, of course, and we have a connection to the UN as well.
Absolutely. So next week, for those of you who don't know, is UN opens up with Climate Week, goes all week, and we have a little bit of a connection there. Our own Hans Vestberg is on the UN Foundation. He was also instrumental in the launch of the 17 UN SDGs, which are the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, which has really become the framework for how Verizon's looking at sustainability, our environmental impact, and how we roll it out across all Verizon employees.
Yeah, I mean, an extension of just how global we are in the world of sustainability and tech. And I understand, Jim, it's been a while since I've said this, we have breaking news in the Build Studios. Tell us about some breaking news.
You did that well. You must have done this at one point or another. Absolutely. So not too long ago, we announced that by 2025, 50% of Verizon's energy will come from renewable sources. That is a massive change when you look at the amount of energy we use to run the best wireless and wireline networks there are globally. So that is a huge thing. But even more breaking than that, Andy?
We have even more breaking news,
Cue the news
told.
right here, which Tara is going to be holding up. Just this morning in Dulles, Virginia, we passed 4 million pounds of e-waste recycled.
Wow. Give it up.
And just as a quick side note to that, what that has been a journey for the last several years of opening up to not even just our customers, but the communities and the employees where we work and live. They can bring their e-waste in, and we will recycle it free of charge. They get a certificate of destruction, and it's just an awesome way to keep things out of landfill.
That's amazing. Congratulations to your team. Final thoughts, when you think about where this conversation has gone and what the team represents, when you think about those first few days, what's on your mind? What's on your heart?
Well, I mean, I think it's obvious to everyone right here. Look at these three individuals next to me. They're the future. They have the passion. They come up with solutions. We talked about the plastic diet we were going on. It's just amazing. And our secret weapon, it was in the video, it's our green team. Over 30,000 employees in over 50 countries who just get it at a gut level. We tell you to bring it home to your backyard barbecues, bring that back. We don't have all the answers, but work green, live green.
Awesome. With that, let's end it. Thank you very much to our esteemed panel. Let's give it up for our green team. And let's bring up Brittany, who's done a fine job today opening the Build doors for us. Brittany, come on
Can
in.
I get one of those eco-friendly phone cases?
Yeah, of course.
That's amazing. Which drives my point home is that I have to be honest, when we started this project, I knew some of the great work my teammates are doing, but I didn't really have a full idea of the incredible range and size of it all. But over time, I've seen how we're all a part of something bigger. It's about how we connect with each other, how we serve our communities, how we treat our planet. So today, I'm proud that we could open our doors, and I hope you saw how we can all use technology to tackle some of our biggest issues and hopefully inspire change. So I want to challenge other companies. Open your doors. Show us what it's like inside. Show us what's working and what kind of things you're doing that make a difference. If you remember in the beginning of the show, I talked about how the world has become more superficial and divisive. We have to keep having conversations like the ones we had today if we're ever going to come together and move forward with a common purpose. I hope you'll join us. Thank you.